Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers and with coffee generously sponsored by Maman. They've got locations all across the county, but our favorite location is their Sunset Harbor store in South Beach. My name is Brittnie Bassant. I'm the president and CEO of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm here with Bruce Siegel from the Clevelander Hotel and also the Essex House Hotel in South Beach, and he's also a board member of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. Lots of titles, lots of hats. Bruce, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
The pleasure is all mine. Good morning. Thank you so much for allowing us to chat. This is very cool.
This is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited because you've got such a great journey and a great story, and there's some like twists and turns in there that we're going to uncover. But you've really built this impressive career in hospitality, and you've been overseeing properties from like the iconic Clevelander to very like boutique and luxury hotels. So tell me a little bit about that path and what drew you initially to this industry.
You know, it's interesting, and I say it to myself, I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed because I really have had a very unique and run some amazing, iconic hotels throughout my career. I started, honestly, my grandmother lived with us when I was young, and she did all the cooking, and I fell in love with it and said I wanted to go into culinary. Went to culinary school and said I don't want to be in the kitchen the rest of my life, and just wound up in the hotel industry and, worked my way up. I started my career actually a little bit in food and beverage. I worked at the Hemsley Palace. People are familiar with the Hemsley Palace. It was on 50th and Madison and Park in New York City. Hemsley was the only 5-diamond hotel. And I mean, we can sit here for hours. We don't have enough time to talk about the uniqueness of the different hotels that I've run throughout my career. Now being at the Clevelander, Clevelander is an iconic hotel as well. I tell people I'm at the Clevelander now, like, oh my God, I remember when I was dancing on the table or doing whatever. So I've been lucky in doing, what is true hotelier.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that in a second, but it's true. When you think of, you mentioned to anyone, who kind of like grew up in Miami Beach, and you say the Clevelander, and oh my God, you will always get a story about like the Clevelander, and people, I had my first drink at the Clevelander, it was my first night out at the Clevelander. The Clevelander is just such an iconic place and woven into the landscape of the city of Miami Beach so well. And so what a great thing to be a part of and to be a part of that legacy.
Thank you. And the Essex House, which is on Collins, and everyone knows Collins Ave. I mean, Collins and Ocean. And actually, and I forgot the name of the artist, but we have a mural in the lobby of the Essex House, which is actually the oldest mural. I think it's from 1937 in Miami Beach.
Wow.
So
there's history there. We love that. We love when there's history and legacy with these,
absolutely.
with these properties.
We're part of the local art tours. If people do art tours of Collins and Ocean, we're one of the stops, which is, exciting. It's very unique. And I think it was restored around 1983 by another artist, but the original artist was still alive in his late 90s.
Oh, wow.
So much, you're right. So much history, in Miami. I mean, Miami Beach is just iconic itself, and so cool to work in and working in, the hub of hospitality.
The hub of hospitality. I love that. The hub of hospitality. Miami Beach is the hub of hospitality. Speaking of that, you have been described as a true hotelier with a passion for hospitality. That's like the description, the tagline, if you will, for Mr. Bruce Siegel. So talk to me a little bit about that philosophy and how it's guided your career and your leadership style.
It's very funny. I say to people, you need to start your day off. You choose your attitude. And, maybe you wake up and you're not in the greatest mood or whatever it is. I always try to come to work and, positive, happy. My 2 kids who are now in the late 20s, used to make fun of me. They called me the cheerleader. Daddy's always happy.
Aw.
Daddy's always this. But, you got to lead. And, it's very, customer service is tough. And it's changed so drastically throughout the years. And you just need to be positive and set your pace. I start my day, in the morning, and I walk the property and I thank everyone, both properties, how you doing? How are you? What can I do for you? Lead by example, and just start, starting a positive trend. I always say anyone I've worked with in the past, and I've been doing this for a little over, 30 years, Bruce's favorite word is team, TEAM, which stands for together, everyone achieves more. So I always say to somebody that I worked with 10 years ago, do you remember my word? And they say, yes. Team, that was you. That was who Bruce was all about. And so it's like kind of touching to me. So, I just, I'm still working, and I want to try to grow, keep hospitality live, because it's a new generation out there. And just, taking care of the guests and guest friendliness. And there's so many components to it.
I absolutely love that. The power of positivity, the leading by example, and this whole team. I've never heard that in all of my years of leadership. I've never heard that acronym for team, together, everyone achieves more. I'm going to have to steal it from you,
Please.
Bruce. I'll give you credit. I will always give you credit, but I'm probably going to have to steal that one from you, because that's incredible. And I think that is so indicative of a strong leadership style, and the power of positivity, I think, speaks volumes. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the hotel scene. So we have the Clevelander, and then there's the upcoming Hilton Miami Beach. And so what can guests and visitors expect from this new property, and what really makes it unique? I mean, Miami Beach, like we said, it's the hub of hospitality. There's dozens of hotels. So what's going to make this new one unique?
So thank you. I mean, I have the Clevelander Hotel. We know about that. We have the Essex House, and we are opening. We're planning to open late fourth quarter this year. We all know how construction goes. So hopefully we'll say by the beginning of 26, which is really around the corner. It is officially named Hilton South Beach, Miami. It is on the corner of Park and, oh my God, I just forgot, but it's in Washington. We're a full block and across the street from the end of the convention center. So everyone's talking about convention center hotels. We are actually going to be a convention center hotel, but in the market. Again, very cool, iconic buildings. There were old hotels from the 1930s called the Hampshire, the Tyler. Each building has its own name. And actually, one is called the Collins, because we're right next door to the Collins Park.
Okay.
So it's actually an entire block, five buildings attached.
I was going to say, are they all connected?
They will be all connected with walkways or tunnels, 300 rooms, 3 restaurants, a huge rooftop, 3 pools. We have one pool on the ground floor, 2 pools on the rooftop bars, rooftop dining. Very Miami type theme, and I'm not prepared, and I wish I remembered. The artist is a local Latin female artist based out of Miami that's doing all of the artwork, so we're trying to keep it that Miami flair. The restaurant will have a modern Latin twist. The grab-and-go coffee bar will be, like a twist on a coffee bar from the 1940s, from Havana. So it's going to be really...
Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like a really crazy, immersive guest experience, too, which is great.
And having a Hilton flag will definitely help, bring in new business.
Absolutely. That's exciting. So stay tuned for more information on that. I'm sure the chamber will be there,
Absolutely.
for the grand opening and the ribbon cutting, and we're really excited to welcome that new property to Miami Beach. So let's pivot a little bit, because you have a background, we're still talking about hospitality, but you have a background in financial and business operations, right? But you talk about hospitality, and guest experience is so important, but there's also the business performance as well. And there's a balance there to make sure that you have a proper guest experience, but you're also, meeting goals and revenue, and that the business is performing well. So talk to me a little bit about how you strike that balance between that guest experience and that business performance using your background in financial and operations.
It probably took me 10 years to understand the true definition of my title, or my main title is general manager, because it is very general. There is so much involved in it. And you're absolutely right. We use something that's called a declining budget. We look at forecasted revenues, and then we look at expenses and labor. Any good general manager, should understand that. But I'm also a very big advocate of, making sure that all of the team members have, we don't call them associates, all of the team members have the right tools. You can't expect a room attendant to clean a room without a vacuum. You can't expect a person to check in without a pen, the little things. So you have to really look at your expenses, balance it accordingly. And, let's be honest, the economy sometimes be rough. So you're running promotional rates, but towels are still expensive. So you just have to learn what you need to expend, when you need to expend. Training to me is very important. We actually just had a class yesterday working with the Miami Beach Police Department, where we're using our assets, came in, and we taught a class on de-escalation, because we're a big bar. So you need to understand how to do things. Use your local resources to the best of your ability, I think is very important. And we have so many of them within the city. I think it's a balance. It's years of experience and what to do and when to do it.
So you talked about local resources, right? And that's a great segue into my next question. We're going to talk about community service, because community service has always been a big part of your philosophy. From serving on chamber boards to hospitality events, you've been very involved in the community in Miami Beach. And so talk to me about the connection and why you feel like it's important for hotels to be such active members of the community that they serve.
I think it's very important because, you're part of the community, and you want to hire the local community. You want your community to come to you, and be a part of it. Love being a part of the chamber, and because of the chamber, meeting someone at one of your dinners, pillar dinners. I forgot the gentleman's name from FIU.
John Stewart.
Yes, he introduced me to somebody, and now I've actually done guest speaking at FIU Hospitality School because of the chamber.
That's amazing.
And to me, it was like, oh my God, the youth of hospitality. Like, I wanted to say, run. But, these are the people that are doing it. And it's great because you do it for so long. So, part of that. And, I met another lady I'm working with, and I just forgot her name too. And one of my causes I love, it's for the homeless, and she is now helping the homeless, and we are actually interviewing them. So we hired one of her people as a houseman. So, trying to help that. I think it's an amazing cause. There's so many of them. So it's just, you want to be a part of it and what's important. And, I think it's a positive direction.
Absolutely. Because again, like when you think hotels, right? People think hotels and it's very, tourist centered, visitor centered. It's, sort of like global. It's very transient. So really seeing that connection between a hotel and how they support the local community, I think is really, really important. We're going to pivot now because true hotelier with a passion for hospitality, like I want to know the secrets that you have about Miami Beach. So like if someone's visiting, and they want to have a great time, I mean, obviously we're going to say go to the Clevelander Hotel, but where would you recommend? Like, what's that gem? What's that spot? Where do you go when you want to unwind and have a great time or relax? Or like, what's your favorite place in Miami Beach, or favorite couple of places in Miami Beach to really let loose and have a good time, or relax and unwind, or both?
It's endless. When we talk about the restaurants, and you're right, the average guest comes to a hotel, they come to the Clevelander, they go to the Clevelander for one night, and there's so much. You can walk right, you can walk left. And there's just so many. We're on Ocean Drive in Collins. There's so many restaurants, so many clubs. I've worked in Miami now 3 times. Don't want to promote my other ones, but I did love them. I was very lucky. I ran the Sagamore Hotel for a while.
All right.
Great. I tell people to go there. It's the art hotel, the artwork they have there, the curators.
Mm-hmm.
I love walking tours. There is so much iconic history. I love old hotels. I think like the Biltmore. to me is an iconic
Yep.
old hotel.
Steeped in history.
You know, it has so much. I was very lucky. I also was a general manager for a while. One of my favorite hotels, not that the Cleveland there isn't, was the Mayfair Hotel and Spa. I love Coconut Grove.
Coconut Grove is great.
It's just a unique area. But like just, you know, Brickell has so many restaurants, but even just within walking distance of the Clevelander, there's so many, you know, iconic hotels. And let's not forget the most important thing, the beach. You know, so you ask, where do I go? If I'm having a bad day or a rough day, I'm lucky where I work. I go across the street with my cup of coffee.
Steps away.
And just, you know, walk on the beach. And it's just miles of beautiful sand. And, you know, the Clevelander also has an amazing rooftop bar. But you go to the rooftop and you just look and it's just miles of, you know, pristine beaches and, you know, just people hanging out and enjoying the day. And, you know, you can just sit, you can relax, you can rent a chair, you can rent a kayak. You know, most hotels in the marketplace have bicycles, but there's, you know, city bikes all over the place. So what's my favorite? I couldn't even tell you. You know, I missed last time. I do want to go to the ice cream museum. You had that.
Yes,
I've never been there.
Yes.
It was on my list. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just so much, you know, there's so much difference. And
We have such a diversity
Yeah.
with so many opportunities.
absolutely.
It's
and that's
endless.
what, you know, that's what makes Miami
Like you said.
iconic in the world, not just the United States, you know, so much international travel.
You said it at the very beginning, and it's true. It's the hub of hospitality, and there's so many opportunities, and there's so many experiences for not just visitors, but also local residents to take advantage of. Like it truly is endless, and that's amazing. You can go out every single night of the week for a year and try a different new restaurant or bar or experience because that's how diverse our city is, and so that's incredible. Okay, I think I have enough time for 2 questions. We might have to go quickly, but one thing I want to know, because you've just told me about this incredible career. You've managed and run so many different hotels. You've done so many incredible things. Looking back, you can pick one, either the most rewarding or the most challenging, or maybe it was the same moment in your career that you want to talk about.
Wow.
And how did it shape you? Not to give you additional things to weave into this answer, but really like either a really rewarding moment that shaped you, a really challenging moment that shaped you. I mean, it also could just be the same moment.
You know, I think when it comes to rewards, rewarding to me is the guest feedback, you know, and not even so much me. It's, you know, the guest feedback, and especially in today's world with the amount of social media that's out there. And, you know, when you have, you know, your diamond status or your star status and the comments that you get back on, you know, the guest, you know, or the employee. Like I have different programs, nothing new to hospitality. I have cards that say, got you doing something good. And every department head needs to give out at least 10 a quarter to their employees. Got you doing something good, and it's for a complimentary meal in the, you know, at Clevelander, you know, which is big, you know, and an average employee appreciates that. Thank you. So I think that's very rewarding to me. You know, taking over a property and doing the right thing. Probably one of my toughest properties. Again, I've been very lucky. I work for a company based out of Fort Lauderdale, but I opened a hotel in New Orleans, right on Canal Street, 2 blocks from Bourbon Street, in the heart.
Wow.
I mean, crazy.
Wow.
But you talk about homeless, horrible, devastating. And drugs, I mean, were just horrible that I hate to say it, employees in the hallways doing things they shouldn't do. That was probably very tough, cleaning it up. You know, locking things that you've never locked before and, you know, and working hard and turning that devastated building, also from the 1930s. I'm always get these old buildings.
Art Deco buildings.
No matter where, and bringing it to, you know, a type of hotel and having team members that are proud to come to work,
right,
and work hard. And, you know, I always say to somebody, yes, I may be my title vice president of operations, but whatever you can do, I can do too. You know, if we're short in housekeeping, I'll make a bed, you know. And I think when people see, you know, oh my God, you know, the big boss, you know, the jefe, as we'll say in Miami, you know, do that, I think it gives you more respect and to work harder. So, I mean, listen, everyone has their problems no matter what job, no matter what it is. Customer service is not just hospitality, it's everywhere. But I think, again, rewarding is just, that final product, profitability and, high scores, return guest.
That's
You
incredible.
could talk for hours.
I think, adapting and overcoming. And then obviously, when you have that guest feedback, and you mentioned earlier people having like their status. And so we didn't even touch about it, but like the loyalty that people feel to certain hotels and certain brands, and how you have to capitalize on that and retain that and make sure that doesn't go anywhere, because that's also really important.
Yes.
But we don't have enough time to talk about it because we're running out of time. So my last question to you is, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, like maybe not little baby Bruce, but like, early career Bruce, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Baby Bruce, I like that.
Baby Bruce.
The hub of hospitality and Baby Bruce. I think balance of life.
Does it exist?
Balance of life doesn't exist. Listen, I'm a workaholic, and I'm not. I am, I think, I married this September. I married 31 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm
That's
surprised.
amazing.
And maybe that's good and bad, because maybe it did last longer because I work so much in balance, all kidding aside. I think you just need, especially in today's world and the pressures and things you have, you need to balance your life, prioritize, and have time for you
Right.
and your family, at the same time balancing a positive team to have.
And a successful career.
And people say you spend more time with your work people
Absolutely.
than you do with your every industry.
Yes.
Every industry.
It doesn't matter.
You're the same.
It doesn't matter. You're spending all of your time, with your team and with the people that you work with.
I think balance of life, something I've been saying all my life. But, I think other than that, no, I don't think there's anything that I would change, what I've done and where I've gone.
That's amazing. Well, that's incredible. So we'll end with that. Make sure that you just balance your life and always find time for those little walks on the beach with coffee to sort of recalibrate and focus in on what's important. Bruce, this has been an amazing interview. I could talk to you for hours. This has been so much fun. But thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. Again, generously sponsored by Maman. They've provided us with coffee to keep us going throughout the day. They have locations all across Miami-Dade County, but of course, our favorite is the Sunset Harbor location in South Beach. Again, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and tune in next week for another episode of Business Beyond the Beach.
Thank you very much.